you're a fan of long hair, big glasses and loud guitars, you're in for a great treat, because a new book, Q, has just been released, charting the ups and downs of the rock scene in the region during the early 1980s.
Yes, it's called No Sleep Till Saltburn. It tells of a golden era, a time when our bands, far from the London rock scene, made the country sit up and take notice.
We'll be joined by the author Mark Gregory in just a moment, but first let's take a trip down memory lane.
I've been a bad boy.
Northeast rock band the Tigers of Pantang performing on the Tube in 1982.
I've been cheating.
And this is where that performance was recorded, the former home of Tyne Tees television on City Road in Newcastle. In the 80s it was programmes like The Tube who championed northern bands who, far away from the London music scene, decided to get out there and do it for themselves. This era has been documented in a new book about rock music in the north, and one local music historian who used to work on the Tube says it's important to keep these memories alive.
No Sleep Till Saltburn, I think, is an important book because it captures a relatively untold story about music in the northeast around about the late 70s, early 80s, during an era known as the new wave of British heavy metal. It was basically young rock musicians deciding to do it for themselves, like the punks had just done in the late 70s. They didn't bother to wait for major record companies to come up here to sign them. That's even if they could be bothered to come up here and sign them. No Sleep Till Saltburn is actually an apt title because it gives you an insight into the sort of tongue-in-cheek, you know, the humour of this time. You know, here were bands with titles like Raven and Fist and the Tigers of Pantang. There was this whole culture of new wave of British heavy metal bands, but there was almost like a carry-on culture through it as well, which is actually quite well captured in the book. And if people don't write books like this, don't take it on themselves to document what went on, a lot of valuable, popular witnessing of music will be lost.
You are the actor.
Those were the days. Well, Mark is here now. Welcome, Mark. Now, tell us, first of all, why is it called No Sleep Till Saltburn?
Well, there's a note there, obviously, to the Hammersmith, No Sleep Till Hammersmith Motorhead album of the period, but Saltburn was really where a lot of myself and the sort of fans and the bands down on sort of the East Cleveland coast had all that fun, specifically the Zetland Hotel with the Cleveland Musicians Collective, and rather bizarrely, the Fillmore Discotheque, where myself and my mate Burnsy promoted some heavy metal concerts. We did the Blue Murder Heavy Metal Roadshow down there as well.
Those were really were the days.
So that was the part of the world where you hoped to make your name as a drummer. You made your name
yes,
as
a notoriously failed drummer, unfortunately, and yeah, which is why I went into the writing side of it.
Yeah, and you made your name as a milkman. You've been a radio presenter, and now you're an author. This book was just there waiting to come out, was it?
Yes, and it took 2.5 years to sort of eventually get there. It was one of those things where, you know, I wanted to tell the story anyway because I felt it was going to go undocumented, particularly with the Teesside bands. The Newcastle bands had a little bit more coverage, but I think I just wanted to put it down in print.
Well, it documents the atmosphere at the time as well, doesn't it? You know, the fact that in those days bands wrote their own music. They weren't manufactured, put together by other people to make money. They actually had that integrity where they really felt what they were doing.
I'd got some mates, learned to play as you went along, and you knew most of your fans because they tended to live round the corner from where you were. And you just built up a local following, took your gear to the local pub for the gig in a wheelbarrow, or if you were lucky, a transit van. Or in the case of Battleaxe, a double-decker bus. They were very famous for their double-decker bus. And yeah, I was down at the Britain's Got Talent auditions yesterday with my niece, bless her, who doesn't know any different. And she thinks that, you know, the way to fame and fortune, and it may be in her case, is to stand in a long queue to have it offered to you.
And hope that it
what was she doing?
overnight.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What was her audition?
She was singing.
Did it go well?
I wasn't unfortunately allowed into the actual room. We were in the holding area for 3 hours.
So how much do you think we've actually lost along the way then, now that things have changed?
I think quite a lot, and I think it'd be nice just to get back to that sort of good, honest endeavour that the bands had of the time. You know, I think so many bands now spend so much time on MySpace, making friends with people in Brazil and Holland and, you know, across the other side of the world, and there's possibly something in that. But just actually building up a local fan base and starting from scratch and, you know, fly posting your own gigs and going down and doing it yourself. There was a lot to be said for that, and a lot of fun. It's the fun aspect of it.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming and talking to us about it. And you can read more about Mark's paperback, No Sleep Till Saltburn, on the website www.lulu.com.
Your enthusiasm has sold it to me, mate. Great to meet you. I'm going to read it and find out more about Burnsy. Sounds like a character.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.